Hello. Oh, why is there an @ sign in the title? Listen, you guys, I'm so excited. Hi, Ashley. No audio? Can you hear me? Hold on. Okay. Okay, there's audio. All right, okay, thank you. Eat you back. Okay. So you guys want to hear something funny? So, like, all right, I literally, right, told Dana and Jesslyn, I say, listen, okay, make sure I charge my phone an hour before the academy call, okay? Because, like, in the playbacks, it sounds so much clearer when we have mics on, and especially because I'm so loud that it cracks sometimes. Anyways, so look at me. Your girl's got 98% in her phone, and the freaking mic's about to die. Oh, man, I kill me sometimes, It's fun being me. Like, I turned it on, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Oh my goodness. Okay. Hi. Okay, I'm in the Branding Authority Academy. Yes, I just wanted to I kept it open. Am I? Yeah, I'm good, right? I'm good. Oh, it says live in both places. Okay. As I know a lot of people, I know a lot of people had a confusion last time, which we are going to be, dude, it's something else, man, I tell you. If it's not a clicker thing, then it's a freaking, okay. Yay! Hopefully Jesslyn doesn't go live at the exact same time tonight, because that also threw everybody off last week. Yeah? Jesslyn's on here. I'm still bugging her about that, because reality of it is, like, I mess up, like, make mistakes, whatever you want to call it, daily, okay? If you guys think that you need to be perfect, tech savvy, nope. Okay. Jesslyn, on the other hand, she's missed like perfect Polly. So when she messes up, I throw salt in that wound for like days. Oh my goodness, you guys. Who is excited? We're almost at 40. I just like to give it a second because I just know everybody had troubles last week, right? All right, you guys, go put it in if you guys are in the pod chats, maybe go put it in the pod chats that we're live so nobody misses it, because we are about to start the Wealth Rebuild series. Yeah. I wish I could do like audios in the background that like things scream. Ah! Okay. Where it is a 3-part series, you guys, where we're gonna burn it to the ground. By the way, I couldn't put that title in here. I guess you can't put long titles in. I was hoping to put like the Wealth Builder series, burn it to the ground. Well, we're gonna burn it to the ground, and then we're gonna rebuild it and also reinvent it. All right. This is a 3-part series that you guys are going to grab inside of the Academy. Look, we're over 40 now. So 6:03, let's kick it off. It's a good time. I think we did that last week, and it was really good. All right. David's excited and pumped. I'm excited and pumped. Okay. Let's freaking kick this new series off. Because our last series, we went from side hustler to CEO, right? But this one's gonna hit different. Is this for like brand new people? Not really. Okay, not really. I'll try to implement. And who here who's the first Academy training? Guys, drop me a 1 in the chat. This is your first Academy training. Okay. This isn't necessarily for newbies. Like, people have never done anything in the industry, but that's not really the Academy is about. We all know that, right? Me and Jesslyn and Dana are talking today. We got like a lead up to me now, it seems like. Like, everybody gets introduced to Dana. She's super lovely, right? And then they get Jesslyn, and then, she's super awesome. And then it's like a lead up to coming into me, right? Where I'm psychotic. I'm just kidding. All right. But let's get one thing straight right from the beginning. All right? This is the Academy. This is no hold bar. This is your first academy training. This is Jamie's safe space. This is where I don't have to hold back. This is where we get real, we get raw, and we literally rip things apart inside of the academy. If you're a part of the academy, it means go big or go home. That's what it means. If you're a part of the academy, it means we don't play small. It means we're building brands, we're building empires, and we're going to build legacies. That's what the academy is about. So if this is your first time, welcome. We're happy to have you part of the family, right? So let's get started. All right. Okay. So let's talk about your brand. All right. Let's talk about your brand. We can all build a brand that pays your bills, right? You can sell offers. You can go viral. You can make those 6 figures, right? But I think this training might hit home for a lot of people today. And when you guys do, okay. What was our emoji last week? Banana? I really want to use pineapple this week, guys. Right? When you relate to something, because everybody always uses the fire emoji, and I love the fire emoji, but I need to know when somebody's relating to a part of the story. This week is pineapple, right? I really wanted to use pineapple last week. I don't know why. There we go. Thank you, Josie, right? Right? We can sell offers. We can go viral. We can make 6 figures, right? We can build a brand, and it still feels like you're living in a business that doesn't feel like yours. Huh. Why? Because when you started, like I said, this isn't necessarily for like people, this isn't day 2 people, right? Because you probably built it in survival mode, didn't you? How many on here started in this industry? I don't care if I'm not talking even like LWA. I mean industry online. Built it from, you started this out of survival mode. You built it in a season where the goal wasn't really legacy, it was escape. I think we same, you guys, same. Maybe it was escape from your job, maybe your past, maybe your own beliefs, your limits, or even maybe from your fear, right? And maybe that was necessary. Don't have me misunderstood. I just like 8 dinners, so I just keep burping. So you guys are just gonna have to deal with it. It's probably gonna be like pronounced when I have this on. All right? And it probably was necessary. Don't have me misunderstood. Maybe you had to throw something together just to prove that you could do it. Damn right. That was me. That actually, my exact date was October 19th, 2017. That's when I needed to prove to myself that I was more than just a mom. And no hate, okay, guys, no hate in any shape or form. And when I say that, I have no hate about being a stay-at-home mom. That's not it. Like when I grew up, like I thought I was gonna be a doctor. I think I told you guys this story, right? Until I figured out it was Jamie don't like blood. All right, December 2020. But now that version of your business, that identity that you created under pressure is choking you. It's working against the next level you're trying to create. And that's what the Academy is about, creating that next level, right? This isn't a training about content hacks or profile tips, guys. I think we know that. I don't give those types of things. This series is a full reckoning is what it is. A release, a fire, a funeral. But I guess you guys never thought someone was going to say that long ago. You don't need a rebrand. You need, I don't even know if I'm allowed to cuss on here. If Justin's going to, but you know what? I'm going to do it once because I feel like it needs it, all right? You don't need a rebrand. You need a fucking rebirth is what you need. But a phoenix cannot rise from the ashes till we burn it all down first, right? So let's do it, section by section. And I want to tell you guys what sparked this series. Is anybody offended that I cussed? Okay. What cracked it all open? Why did I want to write this series for you guys? Are you guys ready for this one? Are you guys ready for this one? Because I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, things have shifted for myself. I'm burning my TikTok to the ground. Yeah. Over 350,000 followers. I can literally hear you guys probably gasping through the screen when I just said that out loud. But the truth is, that's not the version of me anymore. I didn't want to keep making that kind of content that got me there. And I refused to become a prisoner to a platform or to an algorithm that rewards the most watered down version of who I used to be. I'm not deleting my TikTok. I want to say that. I'm not saying that, okay? Don't get that twisted. It did serve a purpose, though. That content built my credibility. It did. It built my audience. It built this. But it doesn't build me anymore. So I had to start asking myself the hard questions. Who do I actually want to help now? What actually fires me up today? Not 2 years ago, and not that, almost 8 years ago, October 19th, 2017. What do I stand for now that I've grown through all of that? Because where I started and where I stand are just two completely different places. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I've evolved. And yeah, I'm going to get fewer views. And I'm probably going to lose a lot of followers. I've already seen it. I think over this last week, I've already lost like 3,000. But I will gain myself back in the process. See, when I entered this industry 8 years ago, I had one core vision. Okay, my goal when I walked into this industry, when I told you guys, I wanted to walk into a room and have every person want to hear what I have to say and actually listen. I think I've achieved that. I have achieved that. That moment is real. I can check it off the list, take it off the vision board, right? But what happens when that dream you had isn't big enough for the version of the person that you've become? What happens? Because I don't want to walk into a room anymore. I personally want to walk onto a stadium stage and have thousands of people hear what I have to say. Not because I shouted the loudest. I'd probably be the one that shouts the loudest. Don't have me misunderstood. But because what I'm building now matters to the version of me. Because the brand I'm building now is mine. Not a mask, not a niche, not a strategy I borrowed from somebody else. I know you guys are out there. So if I'm willing to walk away from a brand that built me to who I am and lose probably thousands of followers, if I'm willing to throw fire on content that once made me tens of thousands, if I'm willing to start fresh in full view of an audience that got used to who I used to be, then you guys can too. Let this series be your permission slip or maybe your wake-up call. I don't know. Because this isn't about social media. This is about sovereignty. This is about realignment, ownership, power. It's about getting honest about what no longer fits. So you can finally start building what you were always meant to. That's right, Will. That's right. 2 steps back to go 5 steps forward. You're absolutely right. See, most people don't build their brand from the inside out. They built it from the outside in based on what looks good, what sells fast, and what people are praising in the moment. And when at first that works, don't have me misunderstood. You start getting traction, people are watching, they're commenting, they're buying. You feel like you finally figured it out. But deep down, you know you're not creating the truth, right? You're creating from performance. You're choosing what would be accepted, not what aligned. You're not building a brand to be validated, not to be understood, not to be remembered, not to be trusted. And the problem with validation-based branding is that it never lasts. And I see a lot of it in here. I'm not going to lie. People are needing that validation. And the reason why the biggest problem with validation-based branding and why it never lasts, because you have to keep earning it. Yeah. That one was a big one for me to overcome too. I used to be that person, you guys. I needed the recognition, I needed the validation. But the reality of it is, every day started to become a performance. I used to remember saying that, like, I used to show up like a character, and that's what it was. It was a big performance, a guessing game, I guess. And then I started watching my own content, wondering if that was even me anymore. It was exhausting. See, the reality of it is, you don't need more strategy. I think you need an identity you can actually stand on. One you can build a movement around. We just did that training last week, right? Was it last week? Holy. One that doesn't crumble every time a trend changes. Because if your brand was built from fear, urgency, or trying to be enough, that was me, it's not going to be sustainable. Even when it's successful. I know, that's a big thing to bite off. It's a trap, actually. People think that the only red flag in business is when things aren't working. People sometimes, but sometimes the biggest red flag, actually, is when things are working and you're miserable. And I know that trap firsthand, because I did build a brand that worked. It was funny, chaotic, relatable, messy, but put together. That was the vibe. The moms were holding all together with coffee and sarcasm. And let's be real, some of that content hit. I have tons of videos, over millions and millions and millions and millions of views, right? That funny, those funny content ones about, your kids driving you nuts, so you got to go home, have a glass of wine or have a drink, right? The ones that get so many comments, that type of thing. The chaos post about needing that one, like every single Friday, every single thing, right? We all know those, okay? It got attention, is what it did. Made a lot of people laugh. I made a lot of people laugh. Listen, let's be real. I make a lot of people laugh still, right? Pineapples, guys, come on. And I was proud of that, okay? I was proud of it at the time, because it did serve a purpose. But then something happened. So a few years after I started my TikTok, my brother, who was an alcoholic for a majority of my life, finally went to rehab, and he got clean. It was the first time I had my brother back in over 20 years. And it actually hit me like a truck. I have 3 boys. I don't know if everybody knows that. I have 3 boys. Colton, Casey, and Slade, 18, almost 15, and Slade will be 9. My brother finally getting the help that he needed was like the biggest weight lifted off my shoulders. So you guys, he actually went to rehab and got clean because of my boys. Because I literally told him one day that I didn't want them to watch him basically kill himself with alcohol. So, like, they were no longer going to be in his life. He went to rehab the very next day for my boys. And so, yeah, that was a huge release for me. That he might finally be the kind of uncle man who could show up for them, right? Who could show up in a positive force in their lives. But then I started looking outward at my own family. All the women in my family, wildly successful. Hugely successful. Almost all the women in my family. A tenure teacher, RCMP officers, business owners, massage therapists. Everyone went to school. My one cousin owns a hotel down in Arizona, right? But the men in my family, nearly every single one of the men in my family, aside from my dad and one uncle, my closest uncle, has battled addiction. And it was always there. Every family event, every celebration, every gathering, alcohol was just a normal thing. It wasn't ever questioned. It was like you couldn't have a good time unless there was a drink in everybody's hands, right? My husband also grew up in the same way, just a little bit more He didn't want to be like that around his kids. He didn't want them growing up with those kind of memories that he had. Memories of what alcohol can take from a family, basically. And me, I wanted my brother around. I wanted him to be a part of our lives. But how could I keep making content and living in a pattern that was normalizing something we were all trying to heal from? For what? Views? To keep a brand? I don't have misunderstood. Like I don't have a drinking problem. I'm the type of person who takes 2 drinks and I take 3 days to recover. But yeah, have a drink on every Friday. Have 1 or 2, maybe like right. Yeah, we're well in there. I have 3 boys. 3 kids that are predisposed to addiction. And I had to ask myself, what am I modeling here? So I changed. My life changed. But my content didn't. And that was the start of the disconnect. I was still posting like the old version of me, even though she didn't exist anymore, even though she no longer reflected my values, my priorities, or even my growth. And that was the cost of building a brand that's based on performance instead of purpose. Because when your identity shifts and your content doesn't, you feel it, man. You start resenting content. You start resenting the audience. You start resenting the role you thought you had to play. And eventually you have to make a choice. I had to make a choice. Keep the brand or lose myself. Or burn it the fuck down. And finally breathe. I was literally just talking to Jeslyn before we got on here. And I said to him, I don't think I've felt this type of way in years. Her and I've had lots of discussions about this. So here's where things are going to get real. I had shifted. My values had shifted. My energy, my content, my vision, all were evolving. But my brand was still frozen in time. Still cracking jokes. Don't get me wrong. I'm funny still, right? Okay. Still doing chaos. Still making light of things I no longer found funny. And what hit me the hardest was this. People love that version of me. They love that girl with a drink in her hand, sliding into her bathroom. The unfiltered mom energy, the savage, witty chaos made them feel seen. And for a while, that tension felt like love. It felt like community. It felt like proof that I was doing something right. But when I started showing up differently, quietly, more intentional, more honest, that love already got quieter. Videos, I don't know if you guys go over my content and how like low my views are. The content that once racked up comments, not just a handful of likes. And I'd be lying if I say that didn't kind of mess with me at first. Because here's the trap that no one talks about when you build a brand that takes off. You start believing that the only version that is allowed to succeed is the one they already approved. You become trapped by your own success. That content style, that tone, that energy, it became expected. I had people commented. I just saw Drea commented on that all the time. And I even had people wanted like my kids in there. And I didn't necessarily feel comfortable putting my kids in there. So when I did try to revolve, I instantly felt resistance. The algorithm didn't like it either. My followers didn't know what to do with it. Even I didn't fully trust it yet. But I knew the truth in my bones. If I kept showing up like the old version of me just to keep a crowd happy, I would lose myself in the process. And it's a branding identity crisis. So a lot of you are probably sitting on or felt. You feel disconnected from your own message, probably, but too scared to change it, right? You feel tired of your content, but afraid to test something new out of the box. You feel boxed in by the niche you chose, and now it feels like a cage. So let me be the one to say it out loud. You are allowed to outgrow the version of you that brought you where you are today. You're allowed to evolve your message, your tone, your audience, your energy. And if your current brand doesn't match space for that evolution, it's not a brand, it's a prison. So let me tell you what happens when you keep building from a version of yourself you've already outgrown. So you guys can learn from my mistakes. How about that? Content falls flat. The algorithm hasn't changed. But because your spirit isn't there anymore. Okay, you're really feeling. Oh, yeah. Hey, Brandy. Okay. So your content falls flat. Not because the algorithm has changed, but because your spirit isn't in it anymore. You start attracting people who want you to stay small. Because that's the version of you they felt comfortable with. And you begin performing for approval instead of creating from power. And if you're not careful, you'll convince yourself that burnout is a business problem, when really it was a branding problem. Because branding isn't just how you show up, it's who you let yourself be. I'm going to say that again, okay? Branding isn't how you show up, it's who you let yourself be. You think people are going to unfollow you if you change? Probably. Let them. Let them leave if they're only there for the content that no longer reflects your truth. Because your real people, they're not watching you for punchlines. They're watching you for presence. They're not attached to your niche. They're attached to your leadership. They're not here for the version of you that trends. They're here for the version of you that transforms. This is where real branding begins. When you stop creating a personality and start leading from identity. When you stop speaking to what the market wants and start speaking to what your mission demands. When you realize that it's better to be known for something true, even if it's quieter at first, than to go viral for something that doesn't feel like you anymore. Your brand should feel like home, not a costume. I wore that costume and thought that was okay for years. I compromised. Maybe became a punchline. But I definitely wasn't a filtered version of my evolution. And if that means starting fresh, if it means speaking differently, showing up differently, losing some momentum, so be it. Okay? Because this next season of business, it's not about proving yourself anymore. It's about becoming yourself. If you're here, you've proved it. Okay? Even if you've made one sale, you've proved it. And your brand, your real brand, should be the loudest, most unapologetic reflection of that. So let's call it out. Most people don't reinvent, you guys. They redecorate. They feel the misalignment. They feel the identity shift bubbling up in the surface. Instead of facing it, they swap out their color palettes. They change their Instagram bio. They try a new preset. They design a new logo. I post in a story, a cover for your Instagram. Big things coming soon. But nothing changes. Because deep down, the business is still being led by fear, not future. That's not reinvention. That's a panic pivot, is what, if I do say so myself. That's rearranging the furniture in a house that you no longer want to live in anymore. Reinvention is not cosmetic. It's cellular. It's when you stop asking, what will people think? And start asking, what do I actually believe? It's when you stop tweaking tactics and start rewriting truth. It's when you stop showing up to prove yourself and start showing up because you've already decided who you are. You don't need another branding board. You need the balls to burn the old one without a backup plan. And yes, I know that's scary. Don't you think I was as scared to leave with what I've been leading with? It takes almost everything in my power not to go throw up a post that I know that'll probably get like 500,000 views. Because I've seen that layer of success, right? Especially when people are already watching. Especially when that old brand, that old niche, that old message brought you such a long way. A lot of you in here have been in this industry for years. But here's what no one tells you about growth. That identity that got you to $10,000 months, or could get you even more $100,000, I don't know, is not the one that's going to be your $1 million brand. It's not. The content that got you followers isn't necessarily the content that earns you respect. The strategy that made you visible might be the very thing that's keeping you small. Because visibility without identity is just noise. And identity with authenticity, is just performance in pretty packaging. Real reinvention is raw. It's rooted. It's honest. It's sitting down and asking, who do I really want? What do I really want to say now? Who do I want to serve now? And what kind of transformation do I actually want to lead? And what parts of my old brand need to die in order for me to lead like that? My biggest one was people. Letting go of people. I've had to let a lot of people go. You can't take old energy into a new era and expect it to carry you. Am I frozen? Okay, well, no. Am I good? Am I frozen? Okay, thank you, Sarah. You can't take old energy into a new era and expect it to carry you. You can't create that from truth while still clinging to an identity that was built to fit in. And here's the hardest part. Sometimes reinventing your brand means disappointing the audience that loved the last chapter. But you know what's worse than disappointing people? People abandoning yourself. If your brand isn't built from your becoming, then it's just built from fear. And I don't care how polished it looks, how many followers it has, or how profitable it is. If it doesn't feel like you, it's just a ticking clock, a ticking time bomb. And eventually that burnout will catch up. That's where I was. Burnt the F out. I hated making that content. I would literally search other people just on that because I didn't want to come up with anything. I had zero ideas. You want to know how many ideas I had for LWA? You know how many ideas? How many videos I can make? Like giving people tips, like coaching people, mentoring people. I can make those for days. I love doing these for you guys. I get so fired up for the Academy because this is me. So stop trying to rearrange those pieces. Stop hiding the pivot inside of a Canva post. Stop waiting for the perfect rollout plan, because before you show up with the version of you who's already here, they're already here, you guys. You don't have to wait for them. You're not messy. You're just in the middle of some metamorphosis. I love that word, by the way. And reinvention is messy by design. Because what comes after it? What comes after it? Power, clarity, conviction. Let's get one thing straight. Rebuilding your brand doesn't mean burning everything to ash and disappearing for 6 months. Okay. You don't have to delete every post. That's not what I'm saying for everybody to go out do after. You you don't have to issue a rebranding statement. You don't have to ghost your audience and come back with a slick new feed or something. And Kasia says, she's back. You know that audio. Because this isn't about theatrics. This is about truth. And you can absolutely rebuild powerfully from where you are. But you've got to shift the strategy. You've got to stop thinking of your brand as a highlight reel and start treating it like a legacy document, the one that evolves you and that doesn't hide the transitions, but documents them. Because that's what real leadership, power, and a brand looks like. People don't connect to the polished. They don't. We all know that. They connect to the process, right? So if you're pivoting, do it public. Show them why your voice is shifting. Let them hear the change in your tone, your energies, your priorities. Let them witness you evolve. And in doing so, give them permission to do the same. That is what I call a truth-based strategy. You want a strategy? Take that one. Because it's not driven by performance or perfection. It's rooted in clarity, conviction, and the courage to communicate the changes happening in real time. It sounds like I'm realizing that the way I've been showing up doesn't reflect the woman or man, David, I'm becoming. So here's what I'm changing. David. You don't have to start over, is what I'm saying. Okay? You don't have to, you just have to start telling your truth. Because here's what most of your audience is starving for. They're not actually looking for a niche. Yeah, they're looking for someone who knows who they are and isn't afraid to say it out loud, man. And if that's you, you don't need to rebuild a following. You attract one. So before you run into a Canva or write a new post or change your bio, I want you to sit with something for a second, you guys. Because if you rush from realization to reaction, you'll recreate the same misalignment in a different outfit. What did we talk about in the beginning? You started out of chaos, out of fear, out of urgency, right? We talked about in the beginning. That's where most people started in this industry. I know I did. Everyone stepping into digital marketing. That was the biggest urgency of my life, wasn't it? We didn't have any money. My husband was injured. Okay? I'm 62. Because this is where the people skip. Stillness. Reflection. Asking the real questions and giving yourself the space to answer. Because your next brand shouldn't come from urgency. It should come from identity. So pause, breathe, and ask yourself, who am I becoming? And what do I want to be known for? And I know you guys wrote a lot of these out inside of the academy. But did you write a version of it out what you think is successful? Is it the same version that you have been saying for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years? Is it the same version? Because you're just so comfortable saying it, right? What parts of your brand no longer feel honest? What kind of leader do you want to be in this space? Not just in content, but in energy itself. What truth have you been avoiding because you're afraid of what people would think? If I weren't afraid to lose momentum, would I show up tomorrow? Ask yourself that. Sit with those questions. Not for content, not for strategy, for clarity. You don't need to rush into this one with urgency either, because reinvention doesn't begin with visuals. It begins with vision. It begins when you stop asking, what should I post? And start asking, what do I want to represent? Which is what brought me to where I am. I didn't want to represent a person to my kids when they would see my TikToks surrounded by the last thing that I wanted for them on this planet. That didn't make sense. And let me be clear. You don't need all the answers, you guys. I sat with this for a very long time, just so everybody knows. You just need to be done pretending. If that makes sense. The woman you look up to didn't get where they are because they curated the perfect brand. They got there because they refused to build a brand that wasn't true. That's real power. That's the beginning of everything. And the crazy part, you're already in it. You're already there. She, he, David. It's already here. So I want to have an activation moment for a second. Here's the part where this stops being a training and starts being a decision. You can't unknow what you know now, right? You've seen behind the curtain. You've felt the weight of your brand you've built from survival. You heard that quiet voice inside of you. The one's been whispering for months, this isn't me anymore. And now you're at that line, right? On one side is a brand that was built to be safe, palatable, and performative. And the other side is rooted in clarity, leadership, and long game impact. So here's what I want you guys all to do today, not tomorrow, and not when a Canva template is perfect. Journal it. Write it down. Answer these without filtering yourselves. What do I need to stop posting, saying, or pretending in order to be in integrity with the brand I want to build? What do you need to stop posting, pretending, or saying in order to be in integrity with the brand I want to build? What would my next level brand sound like if I were to speak freely without needing to please anyone? What would you say? What am I afraid will happen if I show up as them? And lastly, what do I know will happen if I don't? So, I just smiled so big. So what's changing here? Just say what you're done with, basically, right? Say what's coming next, because this isn't just a pivot, okay? Let me kind of retract that, but it's a reclamation, is what it is. You're not here to tweak your way to freedom, is what I'm trying to say, you guys. Do this. This is for yourself. This is for yourself. Don't tweak anything. Don't change anything. Don't do it like what you think I would want you to write down, okay? You're not here to tweak, change, or be someone your way to freedom. You're here to burn it to you're here to burn it down and build something that can't be shaken. That match is lit. Now it's time to decide. Are you still building a brand from fear, urgency, or are you ready to become a kind of woman or man, David? People follow because you're finally leading yourself. The old version, they did their job. Let them rest. Let her take a break. David, go take a break. Okay? They're done. Look at that. That's 42 years old. That's what that is. Okay? So here's the moment of truth, you guys. Because after everything we just talked about, after all the shifts, the realizations, the identity cracks, you felt opening up inside you while we're doing this, you now have a choice. You can keep going the way you have been. Obviously, it served you, right? You keep creating content, maybe that you're no longer proud of. Keep attracting people who want the version of you you've outgrown. Keep shrinking your message to fit a niche you no longer even believe in. And sure, it's probably still gonna work. You might still get those, you're gonna get those views, you're gonna get those sales, you might even fool everyone else, but you will know. You will know that every time you show up, you're filtering yourself. You know that message diluted. You know that brand doesn't feel like something you want to scale because you're not even sure you want to stand beside them anymore. And that knowing that dissonance is the start of burnout. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but not the one that you guys are thinking of. No, nay, okay? Not the one that comes and hits you like a truck. The one that creeps in slowly, quietly, through resentment, through disengagement, through that quiet little voice that says, I don't even care anymore. Any pineapples if you felt that. That's not what you're here for. You didn't come into this industry to trade one version of people pleasing for another. You've done your own lives. Hello, 9 to 5. Right? You didn't fight to get seen just to feel invisible behind a persona you're creating for clout. What? You didn't build this brand just to become a puppet to it. No. So what's the alternative? I can't talk tonight for some reason. What's the alternative then? You choose breakthrough. You take the long way, the honest way, the path where things are going to get messy, but they're real. Where the views might be lower, but the alignment is undeniable. Where your following might shrink, Jamie, but your authority explodes. You build slower, yeah, okay. I can tell you right now, you'll build slower. But you'll outlive most people here. I mean, in career-wise, not in age. Maybe. You never know. They say less stress, right? You build something that actually reflects the woman or man, David, you fought to become. You guys want to know if I keep doing that? Because David called me out last night on the call for not recognizing he was on the call. Okay. Just saying. Okay. You build something that lasts because it's built on truth, not trends. That's what this moment is really about. This isn't about a business decision. It's about a leadership decision. I'm going to use that word a lot in this academy. Lead like a lion. Like I did a training like that. I don't know why I said that. I was like, I've done a training like that before. But it's going to be the moment where you stop asking yourself what will perform best. Stop asking yourself that. And you start asking what will serve your mission best. Because the truth is, both paths are hard, honestly. Burnout is hard. Reinvention is hard. Shrinking is painful. So is expansion. But one path drains you and the other one develops you. So ask yourself, which pain leads to power? Because I promise you, there is no branding tweak, no niche strategy, no aesthetic fix that can replace what happens when you're finally in alignment with your truth. When your content sounds like you, when your offers light you the F up. When your audience finds you, not because you blended in, but because you dared to stand out. That's the breakthrough. That's the moment that changes everything. But only if you're willing to walk through the fire first. So here it is. I'm going to hand you the match. Too bad I didn't have a match. That would have been a lot better, right? But seriously, though, I'm going to hand you the match. The old version of your brand is still standing in front of you, waiting to be released. And the new version, they're not arriving in a strategic document or a logo file. They're waiting on the other side of your decision. Burn it down. Let the old version fall. And finally, start building what was always meant to be you. Okay, guys, thank you so much. This was part 1 in our wealth building series. We just burnt it to the ground. Next week, we're going to rise from the ashes is what we're going to do. I love you guys. I guess I'll see you guys next week for part 2. Bye.